Hello and welcome to the Potted RV. If you're new here, my name is Constance. If you're returning, welcome back. Today I'm going to cover common mistakes with blueberries. One of the biggest ones that I want to cover first off the top of my head is you will look online on Google and see organic or, how do I put, natural ways of acidifying soil. Please don't do this. It will not acidify it enough to grow blueberries in it. A lot of times you'll see recommendations for putting pine needles in there and letting the pine needles break down. That will not acidify the soil anywhere near enough to grow blueberries. Blueberries like their soil between 4.5 and 5.5, and they don't like tolerating it any higher than that ever. This right here is one of my blueberries. This is a blueberry I bought this year at less than a third the size it is now. I have another one, which will bring the camera over because it's right over here. It's that right there. They were the same size. These two blueberries were the same size. This one is massive. Blueberries are not hard. They really aren't. It's not. But you'll see a lot of misinformation, especially when you Google caring for blueberries, particularly in the world of we all want to go as organic as possible. You want to understand what causes acidic soil. One of the biggest things that causes acidic soil is your bedrock. Your bedrock matters. So when you're looking at your soil is on a clay lens, that does not mean it's acidic. Your soil is heavily organic, does not mean it's acidic. If you're seeing a lot of pine trees going around you, that does not make your topsoil acidic. Check your soil if you're putting it in the ground. If you're keeping them in pots, which I find they're going to be smaller, they're never going to be as large as they would get. These are high bushes. They do get traditionally very, very tall. Mine will never get that large because I deliberately keep them in pots so that I can monitor their acidity level. Because though my soil lens is semi-acidic, it's only semi-acidic. It's nowhere near the acidic level that blueberries need. Now, an easy way to know just off of the top of your head, if you know what your bedrock is, a good range of whether or not your soil is acidic or alkaline is if you're on a granite bedrock, your soil is probably going to be acidic. And if you're on my brain just left me. If you're on a limestone bedrock, you're going to be alkaline on a very alkaline base. That's the easiest way to remember. Granite is always acidic. Please do not try to go with an organic breakdown to bring your soil level to the right acidity. It's not going to work. I see a lot of people that use your standard acidifier. That's perfect. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So, and I went ahead and took a picture of it. I don't personally use it. I personally use Natural Science. I like it. It's my preference. I like the fact that it has quick use for the bacteria that live in my soil. It's more bioavailable to the bacteria, and then it's also got more long term where the bacteria have to break down slowly. I like that better than I do just the long-term slow breakage down. And that is exactly how your soil becomes acidic. You have a particular group of bacteria that break down sulfur in particular. And the bacteria, if I can get it right there, the bacteria living in this pot have enough sulfur in there to keep feeding and breaking it down. And that's the reason why I treat mine every 3 months with acidifier. These guys, both of them, need to be up potted. They've gotten huge. I didn't expect to need to up pot these guys. I had deliberately put them in a pot that was more than 4 times the size they were going to need, thinking because they're supposed to be slow growing, they did not grow slowly for me. They're massive. But I had done that intentionally, with the intention of having time, because it's what I always want, is time. These guys decided to tell me, no, time is not on your side. You don't get to have time. So I'm in a bit of a rush with them. I went ahead and purchased, if I can pull it over here, more of these pots, which these are 20-inch barrel, whiskey barrel. They're not actually whiskey barrel, they're resin pots, but they're designed to look like whiskey barrel. I could care less. I don't care whether they look like whiskey barrels or not. My thing is, they are $15 for a 20-inch pot versus a lot of them run $30 for the same size pot. They work perfectly fine for me, and that's the method I go. Another thing that a lot of people make mistakes with them on is not treating your blueberries with acidifier often enough. I do mine every 3 months on a 3-month schedule. That's just my method. I actually have never checked the acidity on these guys. I never have. They are healthy, they're growing, and I stay on that schedule. I don't worry about what my acidity is on because of the acidifier I use. The one that you get in the store is all long-term sulfur. It's not in a bioavailable form. The bacteria have to wait for another bacteria to break it down to the point where the bacteria can break it down themselves, which makes it to where they go longer in, it takes them longer to break down. That's wonderful and great, but I would rather both. I want some that is going to have, the bacteria is going to have to wait until another bacteria breaks it down far enough for them to be able to break it down, as well as some that's bioavailable to the bacteria immediately, so that they keep the acidity level where they want to. Now, I'm going to admit that I have seen, and I've had people tell me that they have tried these. Google says these things break down and make it more acidic, and it's usually pine needles or lemon or citrus peels. It does not. It doesn't. If you look at the science behind it, it is barely noticeable. It's a difference in acidity. Forgive me about this truck. But it's barely noticeable in the difference in acidity. So you don't want to go that route. That's not how soil naturally acidifies. It acidifies through the bedrock. And that's because of what the bedrock's made of. If you're unsure and you're using methods to treat your blueberries and you start noticing a lot of yellowing, my advice is, as soon as you see yellowing, is take 1 tablespoon of vinegar, not vinegar, I don't approve of vinegar, lemon juice. Straight lemon juice, not lemon juice from concentrate, straight lemon juice from an actual lemon, mixed in with half a gallon of water. And once a week to your blueberries while you go ahead and apply uh, new acidifier. When you do that, you want to go ahead and check your acidity levels until it balances out, where you're seeing it not change, it's not fluctuating a whole lot. That's when the bacteria is caught up and you won't need to add lemon juice to it anymore. I've seen a lot of advice on using vinegar. Vinegar will work, but vinegar also kills the bacteria that you want to break the sulfur down. So I'm not sure. Yeah, it's an emergency step, but I'm not sure how much you want to do that, because if you're killing the bacteria, forgive me, I have one single hair that is just driving me nuts today. And if you're killing the bacteria, it's going to take even longer. But I don't recommend doing that unless you're in an emergency situation and you're going to lose the plant if you don't. Otherwise, my suggestion is to go ahead and add acidifier. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a layover of the more common one that people use, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the one I use. The one I use is the one I recommend because it has got both bioavailable sulfur as well as your long extended sulfur. Personally, like I said, I've never had an issue with the acidity getting too neutral to need to go in and do an emergency step. And that has a lot to do with the type of acidifier I use, because I do use one that has both bioavailable and long term. And I'll go ahead and get into that in just a minute. And we'll go ahead and go with up-potting these just so that I can show you how to add acidifier to it. So you can see the basic methods of this, just so you know, this is not something I intended to do. You typically don't want to have to up-pot these guys this late in the season, but I kind of have to. They're starting to get crowded in. I had put them in pots deliberately, intending not to have to do this, because it's best to do it when they lose their leaves. But we're like my strawberries, and they get away from me. Anyways, we'll get into that, and I'll meet you back here in just a minute. So this is the 20-inch pot, and I'm using the same soil I always do. Well, anymore, which is the Scott's topsoil dress, because it works just fine. And it's a lot less expensive than a lot of the other ones. And I have noticed that it already has a decent buildup of my ceiling, which is nice. So, two. Just like so. Now, so I was thinking it was natural science, it's actually earth science. And I'll put a link to it. This is their fast-acting sulfur. And it's got both fast-acting sulfur as well as regular sulfur. And its measurements are that for putting in ground. I obviously don't keep my blueberries in ground, so I'm looking at spreading it in and thoroughly mixing it through. And this has a lot to do with I'm used to how much I use. And I can already tell I'm only going to get one of these done because I needed a lot more soil than I thought I did for these guys. Okay. So, this blueberry, which is quite heavy, quite heavy. Blueberries do like their soil to be very, very wet. They live in boggy areas, at least in my experience. So these guys are probably my wettest plants, which makes them difficult. This is by far the bigger of the two blueberries. And I'm going to have to open the other bag. I was thinking I only needed one for these, but I'm going to need 2 bags per. So, anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.